I'm Jessica Dane. I'm chair of the Australian Women in Motorsport Commission and Australian delegate to the FIA Women in Motorsport Commission, and also a ambassador for Girls on Track, which you might know as Dare to be Different. And I'm going to be joined very shortly, I hope, by Molly Taylor. Here we go. We're, as you know, we're on the Motorsport Australia channels, and we're going to have a quick chat and answer some questions, but I thought that we would start with a bit of an overview about what Girls on Track is. Now, some people might know it as Dare to be Different, but it has recently evolved. So Molly, can you explain to us what Dare to be Different was and what that program was about?
Yeah, sure. So as you guys know, it was started by Susie Wolf, and we run a extension of that here in Australia, and really about showcasing motorsport and all the roles within it that are accessible to women, to young schoolgirls. So you know, we did a lot of initiatives at workshops, at racetracks, at schools. So we really wanted to get as many young girls to see and feel and touch motorsport and recognize all the opportunities, so that as they grow up, they can see if that's something they want to pursue. There's all these options, and it's definitely not just roles that are dedicated to men.
Definitely, yeah. It's been a really, really exciting program to be part of. But now it's changed into Girls on Track, which is really exciting. So the FIA, to give you guys a bit of a background on Girls on Track versus Dare to be Different, it's actually all part of the same program. So Dare to be Different was started, as Molly says, by Susie Wolf in the UK, and that has since changed into Dare to be Different. It's been Girls on Track. It's been absorbed by the FIA, so it's the FIA Girls on Track initiative. And just in the last few months, or just in the last month actually, it's changed in Australia to Girls on Track here. So no longer Dare to be Different, but it's now Girls on Track, which is really exciting because it means that we're part of this big global initiative, and Girls on Track goes around the world activating at Formula E events particularly, but also in schools and at workshops around the world. So it's really cool that Australia can be part of this big global initiative. But in this weird COVID world that we're living in, this is why we're talking over the phone, which is a little bit strange. We can't do the in-person workshops, but when we were able to in this pre-COVID world, Molly, what was your highlight of being involved in Girls on Track Dare to be Different?
I think for me, one of my first events, which was out at the Australian Grand Prix, and we had a bunch of schoolgirls come and visit, and I remember we're actually in the 888 pits, and Jess was showing everybody around, and just seeing the faces light up of these girls, seeing the inside of this sport that they didn't know much about before, and just recognizing how cool it is. And I mean, that's why we do it. That's why we do the crazy hours, and it's a crazy lifestyle because we love it so much. And so to be able to see that kind of spark light in someone else is just so cool to witness in it, because you remember yourself what it was like when you had that moment. So to see that in someone else is so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. That one of my highlights was also from the Grand Prix. It was last year. So the program had been launched exactly a year before, and a girl who had taken part in the program in 2018 spotted me from across the paddock and came running up to me, literally just moments before a race, so it wasn't great timing, came running up to me and said, "Oh my God, Jess, I just got to go. I did a pit walk down the F1 pit lane, and I got to go into one of the Formula One garages." I think she said it was the Williams garage. And it was just the coolest thing ever, and I can't wait to grow up and be a race engineer. And I thought, oh my God, that has absolutely made it for me. That is, it doesn't get better than that. That's a box ticked. That's our jobs done. And even if they then don't go into motorsport, we know that as a job, we know that they're probably going to be fans for life and follow it in some way because they've had that exposure, which is really, really cool. So we're growing the sport all the time while we're doing it.
Yeah, totally. And confidence as well. I think, they just feel like they're more confident to do something different, which is the whole preface behind it.
Absolutely. Now, we did get some questions in, so thank you for those awesome people who sent in questions before we came live. And if you do have any questions, we'll do our best to multitask and see them if they're coming up on the screen, so please don't hesitate to shoot them through. But for the questions that we received beforehand, Molly, what would you recommend as the first steps for women who want to get into the motorsport industry?
Great question. So obviously getting involved through Motorsport Australia with this Girls on Track program, so you can find out about more of the resources that we have, and more broadly than that, the first thing that obviously I had parents involved, so I was around it before, but the first step in my case was to join your local car club. So wherever you are, on the Motorsport Australia website, you can search for clubs. So the very first thing you can do is type in your location, find a club, and get in touch with the club. I found the perception of that, there's this barrier around females getting involved. When you come to these clubs, they love the sport, they want to grow the sport, and everybody wants more females in the sport. So the reality of that side is completely different. It's very welcoming. You'll be able to ask all your questions, go to a couple of events, watch maybe official, and volunteer to help out, to see how it all runs, and then from there you can get a lay of the land and build on from there. And then obviously these initiatives that Girls on Track have as well, there's going to be heaps of opportunities to get involved that way as well. Would you say anything else, Jess?
No, I think you nailed it. Like, I think that there's this, I mean, it's a little bit different for you and me because we do come from that family background. We've both got parents involved in sport, so that's how we were initially exposed. And I think that motorsport is a massively family-orientated sport. But having said that, it definitely doesn't mean that it can't be open to other people. So definitely, as you said, it's just a case of getting involved on a local level at first. I think from my perspective, working in supercars, we have an awful lot of people who think that they have to gun for the top and go straight in at supercars, and that's it. But and they have to go straight there. But there's so much opportunity to get involved and build your experience at a local and grassroots level. And really, if I'm looking at CVs, if somebody's been involved at club level, at grassroots level, that's going to tick so many boxes. So definitely, as you say, car clubs are a great place to start. We had some,
the questions come in. We've just seen the question from Miss Zoe.
You're much better at multitasking than me. You go ahead.
Female representation in Speedway is growing well. Have you got any plans to have a go at it? I reckon.
I went to Speedway. I can't believe that I've been around motorsport this long, and it took me until last year to get to my first Speedway race, which was terrible. As in, like, the experience was great, but the fact that it took me that long to get to Speedway out at Archfield was shocking. But absolutely loved it.
My tooth fell out the last time I went to a Speedway.
Sorry?
My tooth fell out last time I went to a Speedway.
Do you want to elaborate on that story, or?
No, I think I was just like ate an apple or something. It wasn't, I wasn't in a shunt, or I wasn't. I just remember being at a Speedway holding a tooth. But anyway, that's how long it's been since
How old were you? Was this like last year, or?
I reckon you'd be great at it. I would love to have a go at it.
I think you'd be awesome. Well, you've got the art of controlling a car sideways down to a T. So
my co-driver does it.
Actually, this is a great segue because we have been asked to pitch ideas for our new roles. So for anyone who's not aware of the Shannon's Motorsport Australia Championships, they are going to be live and free on 7 when we eventually go racing. Hopefully that will be in October, fingers crossed. But Molly and I are changing our roles a little bit, and we're part of the commentary team. We're going to be roving pit lane, annoying all the drivers, asking for those interviews when they really don't want to give them, and also get to do some colour pieces. And we were asked for suggestions on what we'd like to do as colour pieces, and I think you've just nailed it.
Great idea.
We are going Speedway. And
We'll
I will
still
be
be
your
there.
passenger.
The races will be started, and they'll say, "Where's our pit lane reporters?"
Oh, we're out playing at Speedway.
I'm really looking
That would be
forward to
so much fun. I definitely at some point during that experience need to get in the driver's seat with you as my passenger so that you can give me some tips. And despite having nearly parked a Toyota 86 in a lake at Norwell once, I go okay.
Easy to do. It's easy to do up there. I think we've all done that.
Excellent. It's happened to the best of us. It's happened to the best of us.
There's a question here, Jess, from Motorsport Girls Rule, which I'm very curious to know your answer on this. I'm sure everybody else is. But who are your greatest inspirations, and where do you channel your determination from?
Oh, that is a good question. Greatest inspirations are. I was actually thinking about this earlier, because I went on a run earlier and listened to Greg Russ' podcast with Dario Franchitti. And one of the first questions that he asked was about motorsport heroes and things. And he said, it took me until the age of 46 to realize that it's my dad. And God, it pains me to say it, but I guess on some level, my dad is kind of a motorsport hero to me. Because if anyone doesn't know, he is the founder of 888 Race Engineering. We race in supercars, have raced in British touring cars. We dabble in GT a bit, done a few things. And yeah, I feel very fortunate to work alongside him most of the time. So yeah, I guess on some level, he's an inspiration to me, but I draw inspiration from so many people around me because I think that there's so much that we can learn from the people around us. Even if we don't particularly look up to them as an idol, there's always stuff that we can learn from the people around us. And I have a massive respect for anyone who can kind of multitask and cram in as much into their lives as possible. I feel like that's what I'm doing at the moment with all the various things that I've got going on. So anyone who can balance time and never complains about not having enough time to do something is an inspiration to me, really.
I can completely understand that. And it's the same for me. I would say my mum has been, and probably like subconsciously for a long time before I realized it. But then, as you say, as you grow and you develop, and I suppose that determination is just from being competitive and always wanting to be better. But as you grow and you meet new people and you're in new environments and learning from other people within the teams, you see all the elements that have to be put together to be a successful motorsport program, and there's bits you take from it all to try and get it together. So it's you definitely don't draw inspiration from one place.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a good question here from Richard. How does the sport remove the barriers that females encounter? I think that's probably a good one for you to answer, because being a female driver, you are in the minority. So have you ever felt like there are barriers that you're up against in that respect?
I mean, a lot of it, I think, is psychological, and when you look at it as well, I think it's tough for any driver, because you're all out there trying to prove yourself. So there's definitely, for me personally, sometimes when I started, I would lack a bit of confidence. I feel like I always had to prove myself, and even if you have a good result, if you went somewhere new, you feel like you have to start back from scratch. But I think the more I just got on with it, and to be honest, the less I thought of that, then you realize that it's just about the results, and at the end of the day, no one really cares. And I mean, sure, there's going to be some fringe people who have a different opinion, but that's going to be the case in anything you do. And I think it's really as we create more awareness about the program, we bring up more girls in grassroots. I think that's one of the biggest things we can do to remove the barriers, bring it that openness and that encouragement, so that we have more females going up all through the sport. I mean, when you're rallying, that's probably the only physical barrier is like, the guys can just go to the toilet anyway in the forest. but honestly,
yeah,
it's
I've never thought about that. Actually, no, I do remember Michelle Mousson talking about that. That minor difference. No, I couldn't agree more with the grassroots stuff. Sorry?
from your side, do you think, you know, there's what steps, I guess, at your level in supercars?
Yeah, it's at a supercars level, or at you know, a top tier level in any sport. All you're interested in is somebody who can do the job and get on in the environment. And you don't care whether they're male or female or how old they are or whatever else might set them apart. All you want is somebody who can do the job, get on with it, and fit into the environment around them. It's all very well having someone who on paper can do the job perfectly, but doesn't fit into the team ethos. But you'd rather somebody who fitted in, who maybe needs a little bit of work, over somebody who is perfect on paper but doesn't have the right attitude. Attitude is everything. So yeah, if you can do, to me there is no barrier. If you can do the job, if you can do the job well, then there shouldn't be any reason why there should be a barrier there. It's so often a perception in the minds of females or whoever it might be that something isn't accessible to them, and that stops them going for it. So if it scares you, just like go for it. It sounds so cliche, and I hate saying cliche stuff like that, but yeah, if it scares you, you just need to go for it, because there might be something great waiting on the other side. You never know.
So true. I remember when I first went to the UK, I would, you know, like I made all the plans and I kind of committed to it whilst it was this great, you know, exciting adventure, and you know, it's going to be good, and I'm going to go overseas and I'm going to compete in the British Championship, and then when I got over there, I was really scared, and it was really overwhelming, and I kind of almost made this little system with myself that I would like commit to something, you know, when I was a little bit far away from it, so I was a bit, you know, not as emotionally into it yet, and then when it got close to the time or close to the event or close to whatever it was, you know, you would be really scared, but it was too late to back out. So as long as I kept, you know, committing myself to these things, and then you get scared and then you don't want to do it, but it's too late, and then you go through and you do it, and then you realize that you can, it then changes your perception or your mindset into saying yes to the next thing. So for me, that was really important, as you say, you know, even though it scared you, just having a go at it.
Yeah, totally. Speaking of going overseas, Steve asked, are there any differences in motorsport overseas compared to Australia?
I mean, rallying's a lot bigger. Unfortunately, we're doing a lot to grow it back here in Australia, which is great. But it is bigger. For me, I initially went over there because the junior categories are really strong. So, you know, it was really, really competitive. You had a lot of young people, you know, vying for the same spot. So as a young driver, when I was starting out and trying to become professional, I guess it was a really good competitive playground, I guess, to hone everything. But yeah, really competitive and really tough. And there's no there's no easy way around, I guess. You know, you've got everybody vying for limited spots. So I think and also, you know, living away from home and all those other things. It's a very tough environment, and probably tougher in many respects. But then compared to motorsport here, like rallying here, we still have some of the best roads in the world. So it's, you know, the enjoyment of driving in Australia is some of the best in the world.
Yeah, totally agree. I'll add to that on the comparison of motorsport in Australia to overseas. Coming up, having grown up around racing in Europe, I think in motorsport in Australia we're totally spoilt with motorsport, especially in a supercars environment. The product, the category that we put forward is just awesome. The racing is so close, and I love that when so Triple Eight Race Engineering were involved in GT racing as well, and at the 12-hour spending time with GT drivers from around the world, they come in and say, I would love to test a supercar. You know, if there's one thing on my bucket list, aside from, you know, driving a Formula One car, they want to come over and test a supercar. And I think do Bathurst in a supercar. I think that is so often taken for granted, the fact that we do have such an awesome category over here at all levels, but especially our top flight domestic category is such a high level. We've been talking for a while. Do you feel like we have? We could talk all day.
I'm trying to multitask and look at the questions, but then they go so quickly. One from Morgan, 22-year-old student at sports management, and was wondering if it's possible to volunteer at a Girls on Track event.
Absolutely. We're always looking for extra hands. Obviously, a little bit of a complicated environment at the moment with this whole pandemic going on. But for sure, we go to events around the country and an extra set of hands to help set up and to help coordinate certain activities are always definitely welcome. I think the best way to initiate that or to get involved is to send an email to Motorsport Australia. So if you head to motorsport.org.au, I think is the URL, or just Google Motorsport Australia, then there's a contact page there and you can get in touch and offer your help. So thank you so much for wanting to get involved.
There's another one from Samantha that was sent in prior. Which I'm interested to know from your perspective. Have you ever felt like you missed out on being chosen for a job in motorsport because you were a girl?
Not because I'm a girl, but because my last name's Dane. I don't think I would get a job anywhere else in Supercars pit lane because because I'm a team owner of a different Supercars team, but no, definitely not. Certainly not because I'm female. I've been offered jobs in other teams, in other categories, other possibilities. So no, I don't feel like I've ever not had an opportunity, whether it's in motorsport or anywhere else, purely because of gender. I don't think that registers with a lot of people, to be honest. As I said earlier, you just want somebody who'll do the job.
Yeah,
what about you?
Completely agree. Yeah, completely agree. And I mean, from my perspective, so much of it is about sponsorship. So, you know, it's not like a typical job market, I guess. It's your ability to find your sponsors, to find a package that delivers value to those sponsors and putting a team together. So, you know, if you can do that, then you know, you can get a drive, and then you can prove yourself, and then future jobs are based off that. So yeah, I don't think I haven't encountered that at all. And to be honest, I think for females getting involved in motorsport, you've got a unique selling point being a female in terms of putting together sponsorship packages. So maybe there's extra opportunities for you rather than the other way around. Yeah,
I certainly agree. I think there was one question asking, do we know when the next workshop for Girls on Track will be? Unfortunately not. That is dependent on this pesky pandemic that we find ourselves in. So for the foreseeable future, Girls on Track will be offered online. So between Motorsport Australia and the FIA Women in Motorsport page, there are various virtual workshops, Q&As, seminars being offered. The FIA is developing the online offering. So hopefully at some point in the future, we'll be able to have something that's a bit more interactive and have another platform for people to get involved. So that's an exciting concept because it will mean that we can reach even more girls. But hopefully we will be back in 21 with a series of workshops and activity days around the country, because we cannot wait to see everyone at a track or in the workshop again. And yeah, I guess between us, we're just excited to get to the first round of the Shannon's Motorsport Australia Championships.
Yeah,
and
kind of
get our TV hats on.
Oh gosh, I feel like I'm gonna slip up. Normally in the rally car, you know, we'll just say what's in our mind, and you know, sometimes there's usually a few expletives thrown in there for good measure. So, you know, we're going to have to really focus on this presenting role. But Jackie from Bendigo also sent us a question, and it sounds amazing. She's from Bendigo, and she's developing a program to get more country girls and women involved in motorsport and automotive, which is fantastic, and asking for some advice on where to get some support and advice. So I guess, as you said, you would say the Motorsport Australia website, getting in touch, so you can be across the programs we're putting on, and also the women in automotive as well, do you think, Jess?
Yeah, definitely. There's some really good resources to be able to tap into, and other organisations and bodies around the country. I think one of the most important things is creating a network and a community of women involved in motorsport who can share their experiences, share their knowledge, and really support each other with initiatives like this. So connect with them, see what you can learn from them, but also from a Australian Women in Motorsport Commission perspective, we're playing with ideas of things like toolkits and stuff that can be provided to car clubs around the country, so that they can then offer them to their members, and see what how those female membership bases can really be built, and these female communities within motorsport supported.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. That 25 odd minutes has gone really, really quickly. So hopefully everyone has enjoyed it. And I might give you a taste of how much Molly and I might end up talking on air when we are live and free on Channel 7.
Yeah,
we'll have to... I almost forgot most important question. I had a very important question from our producer, AJ, to make sure that you, Molly, are aware of the need to bring sugary snacks to the track. If you bring fruit, you will be banned. And
oh, God.
We have to present original candy offerings to the production crew. This goes way back into like the early supercars days when we worked together in supercars. So we're welcoming you into our group of candy enthusiasts.
Although I distinctly remember a conversation we had, not even a week ago, where we were discussing what design of car related cakes you were going to bring to the first round. So I think we've got the sugary snacks completely covered.
This is true, actually. If there is any of my 30th birthday cake left by the first round, that's all ordered, by the way. Race car birthday cake is coming. Fantastic. I'm so excited. All right, well, thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate you joining us. Thank you, Molly. It's been really, really fun. And hopefully we will see you all in the not too distant future at a racetrack.